Now, LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Jingle bells to jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one.
Another Friday here as the Mac and Jack Sports Show is back. Today, my co-host, Jack Hirsch, is saying he has flu-like symptoms, so he won't be in today. But, of course, I always have my sidekick with me here, Byron Williams. Good morning, Byron. How you doing today?
Good morning. How you doing, Matt? Doing great.
Listen, this is one of my favorite times of the season, not because I get presents, because nobody buys me anything, Byron. They don't do it. But my wife is a cookie making machine this time of year.
Wow.
I've been eating some cookies. She's making more cookies, and there's just I'm just in heaven right now in this time of season because Linda does her thing with the cookies. She's a heck of a cook, baker. So I'm a lucky guy. So I'm testing all the new cookies. She's making new cookies this year, different types of cookies. It's just
wow.
I'm in cookie heaven. So anyway, so good morning to Byron and me and Byron do a lot of talking because we both love the game of football, especially. We love sports, but we love the game of football. It's a neat thing. It's a family sport when it's just a fun thing. Playing and coaching football, there's nothing like it in the world, and that's why I love talking to Byron. And that's why sometimes I like Jack, off the show because he kind of rolls his eyes when we start talking because he has no idea what kind of sport football is, Byron. He never played. He says he played flag football. I don't even believe that, Byron. I don't think he played touch football, to be honest with you. So anyway, this is why I love having Byron in once in a while. Me and him could just talk solo. So again, Byron, this will be the last time I see you before Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, your wife, your grandkids, all your family there. Great man, does a lot of charity work all year, not just Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you, Byron, and Merry Christmas to everybody out there. We got 2 more shows coming up this weekend, and we'll be there for you all weekend during this Christmas weekend. So, Byron, let's talk a little bit about Thursday night's game last night. The Rams, listen, that kid, Anuka, you look at his stats, he had 9 catches for 164 yards. He caught a touchdown. I think he ran for a touchdown or had a nice run on an end around or something. And, Matt Stafford spreading the ball around. He has Nuka, he has Kupp, he has Robinson. Robinson came back out of nowhere. I mean, I don't know where he's been, but man, he had a big game too.
He did. He had a great game, and he had a touchdown as well. And he came over from Baltimore, the Ravens, and man, that receiving core is looking outstanding.
Yeah.
And like you said, Stafford had a perfect game. He's about 120% rating on the quarterback stats. And he's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the last 4 or 5 games.
I'm telling you, good morning, Rick. Glad to have you aboard.
Good morning, Rick.
The Rams, listen, they may be the best wild card team. Forget Seattle. They downed the Saints, and they jumped out fast. Carr and the Saints made a little bit of a comeback. Yeah. But they have a running game now, Byron. They have a good defense. Not great, but a good defense. So listen, depending on who they play in the first round, you imagine them against the Eagles and the problem they've had in their secondary. I mean, the Rams might upset a couple people here.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a team that really turn it around. They look great, and the coaching staff is all fired up. I think they well prepared, and plus they playing team football. That's what I like about them. Right now they're playing team football. The running back, like you said, all the receivers. The defense has always been tough, and their secondary is getting interceptions and making good tackles. But they not making stupid mistakes. And And so you got to really see that the Rams is a team. That's what I love about football. I call it the mo factor. They had a momentum to where they went one way on the street and seemed like they turned it around, and now they playing to the best of their abilities for some of the players. And you talking about Rookie of the Year, Puka is fantastic. Just his story is fantastic. And so, that's what I love about football. You and I was talking about Little League and youth football, and you can see that Puka is one of those type of guys that come in and playing with his heart. He's a team oriented, and he's not never beating his chest, and he's making catches and getting back up, going to the huddle, and that's the kind of football that I like to see, and it adds consistency in the performance of what's happening out there.
And one thing you could appreciate being a former wide receiver, and a lot of what you did, these wide receivers block. They don't just catch the ball; they block for each other. And and even Nuka was saying, "Hey, listen, I thought that I'd just be a special teams player, and I had to learn to block to be part of this wide receiving crew." So I mean, they do more than just one thing, Byron, as opposed to a wide receiver in Pittsburgh, who if the ball isn't thrown his way, he mopes.
Yep.
He doesn't make a block downfield to spur the guy in for a touchdown.
Right.
When the guy intercepts the ball, he runs the other way. He doesn't try to make a tackle. And you know who I'm talking about over there in Pittsburgh, Pickett's. And, just give me your thought. If Coach Bill Parcells, if Coach Cowder was there as the head coach right now and Pickett's pulled that crap, what would happen, Byron?
Oh, they definitely get him up out of there. He's just sit him down. And one of the things that I love about old school football, that they teach you the fundamentals of every facet, everything. You got to block for each other. You got to, fake the reverses and things like that. And you got to go into motions, and you got to. I mean, we used to spend a whole period just blocking downfield. Right. And so, you help create alleys for the running backs or the tight ends or whatever the case may be. And that's complete football. And then you're not selfish. One thing about football, you can't say, throw the ball to me all the time, pump your chest and all that. It'll come back to haunt you. And that's what's happening with him. You just got to be a complete receiver. And the game last night is a proven fact that this is the way the game should be played.
Yes. And you know what I would do if I was a coach, if I was Tomlin, if I was to talk to him today, I say, this is what I would do with this dude. I give him one more chance. I put him on special teams. And I say, you're going to block and you're going to run down, you go tackle. If you can't do either of those things, bye.
You said a key thing there. I used to be the gunner on the kickoff team. I used to be the gunner on the punt team. And sometimes you have to be back there to block for the receiver or the deep back, and that right there just add more value to who you are and what you bring to the team. The more that you can do, the more you can contribute to your team. And I think that some of these coaches have got away from that. I think you got to utilize as many players as possible just to see in worst case scenario, because it ain't gonna happen, but this is definitely gonna happen. Injuries gonna occur. And somebody got to step up and fill those gaps.
Yeah. And we have this image of Mike Tomlin like he's a tough guy because he talks loud and he yells off stage. And I don't think he's a tough guy, Byron. I really don't. I think why the wide receiver that took off his shirt and left the stadium in Tampa. Big diva. I think Roethlisberger kept him in check. I don't think Mike Tomlin did. That's why he didn't like Ben Roethlisberger, because he said this is the way it is. If you don't like it, too bad. See, I don't think it's Tomlin. We think this is a bad guy. And, I see him on the sideline with Pickett's, and he's kind of cradling him and babying him a little bit, talking with him. And then he gets on the stage in the press conference. The Steelers press are all over this Pickett's story. They're all over. They're showing films of this, clips of this. The whole league is seeing this. And he's defending Pickett, who said to all these reporters, hey, you've never played football. You don't know what it's like to play football. I don't want to get injured. And Tomlin comes in and says, well, he wasn't mad that Pickett said that. that feels that way is that he said it out loud. He said, "I got to teach him not to talk." What's going on in Pittsburgh? What the hell's going on there?
Yeah, and that's probably why they're losing. And that just goes to show you got to be consistent with your coaching attitude with some of these players, and you don't. That's unheard of for me. I ain't never heard of that, And I just come from hard school, but I'm telling you, it filtered down and it's gonna hurt you. Why you can't play the game? You play the game to win games, not to whether or not you're gonna get hurt and all that. That's selfish football, and this is, that just goes to show you this modern day football it need to learn a lot from some guys. That's why you want old receivers or guys from alumni to come to your locker room, sit down and discuss some things with some of these young players, because it's really like a family. It's just handing down little tidbits and things that can help. And you want to add value to the team. You want to add, you don't go and tell the receiver. I understand that reporters and writers hadn't played the game, but they also got that pen, and that pen can hurt you as well, and they can damage your career as well. So you got to be real smart about what you say and how you address things.
Well, I'll tell you, Byron, I played football. You played football. We never worried about getting injured. That wasn't part of the game plan. The game plan was to go out there and win and do whatever it takes to win. That's what you did as a football player. I don't care about this diva stuff. In fact, Tomlin comes out and says this is just vulture food. And no, was he calling it to media? Who's going to write stories about him saying they're vultures because this kid made stupid comments. This is what I'm saying, Byron. I don't think Tomlin is effective anymore in Pittsburgh. He's got a young team. He's got a young team, and he doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't have a Ben Roethlisberger around anymore, right? He don't have the receivers that used to block that were there when he got there. He's got a lot of young kids now, and I don't think he knows what to do with what he's got there. As he says, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong. It's just to me that. I don't know if he makes it after this year, Byron. I really don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, Herm Edwards, he's really tough. Herm Edwards old school as well. Yeah. So you definitely right. It just think up the atmosphere, but it's a result of what's happening with Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, to lose 2 games back to back against the Cardinals and another team that wasn't winning, it just certain little things like that was really disgusting to see. That's not the Steelers look. Steelers don't lose at home. And what I like about it, I've met so many Steelers over the course of my lifetime, from Franco Harris to all those great guys and at the Super Bowl, and they have a tradition. And now that tradition is slipping away with what's happening up there right now.
One last thing on Tomlin, and I saw this last year, and when they celebrated that they were 8-1, I think they didn't fall. I have never seen, a football team celebrate being 500 unless they were really bad. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers we're talking about. We're not talking about the Carolina Panthers right now. They finish 8-1. They should celebrate. The Steelers celebrate mediocrity. And as you said, that's not the Pittsburgh Steelers of old. That's very interesting to me over there. Tua comes out and says for about a half an hour that he doesn't care what anybody says about him. So if he didn't care, of course, he wouldn't have spent a half hour saying he don't care. Of course, they're saying, well, Tua's not good without the cheetah. He's not good without Waddle. He's not good because of this. He's not good because of that. And Tua's upset. I don't blame him. Listen, the guy is playing good quarterback right now. He's up near the top. In ratings, the Miami Dolphins are in first place. And of course, if you have receivers like Tua and Waddle, it's going to make you better. Patrick Mahomes had the cheetah with him. I mean, it made him better. I mean, you look at him now, he's struggling with the receivers he's got. So why are they picking on Tua and they didn't pick on Patrick Mahomes, Byron?
I'm trying to figure that out too. And I just think too that Tua is doing a great job. First of all, you got to celebrate him and congratulate him, and he just throw a different type of ball though. The way he throw the ball is it's not a lot of error sometimes, but he put it there and the receiver can run and go with it. So he throws a great football. I just think every now and then you're gonna have some people that are gonna say something negative, and you just got to be mature-minded about it. You know, you got to take it with a grain of salt and go to the next play. That's the way I look at it. But, you know, I just think he want to be, you can't be liked by everybody. Somebody got to really say something, you know, different than what you always think you're, just to see what kind of skin you have. But I think it's being mature-minded. I think he's getting to that point, but his performance and what he's doing and what he have done for the Dolphins speak for itself. So I think he has to look at it like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's no good. There's not too many good quarterbacks with bad receivers. I mean, that doesn't work too well anywhere. So listen, Tua's having a good year. He's still got a lot to prove this year. They're in first place. They end up finishing first place. Hey, I'm behind him. It's only his third year, I think, Byron.
It's his third year, and he's gonna get a good test this week. If he can go out and beat the Cowboys, I think he can shed some people up.
Yeah, and a good point by Rick. He actually did a workout to keep him more flexible this year, to be able to take some of them bend backs and slams. He actually had a workout he did this year that he used to help him be more flexible. So maybe that's working for him too. The Mad Hatter, I call the coach of the Miami Dolphins the Mad Hatter, right? Because he's a goofy kind of coach. He don't look like a head coach. He looks like he should be in college, maybe a professor or something. But he actually came out and said, I respectfully say F the reporters, you know, don't listen to them, Tua, like you're saying. But, you know, I mean, listen, Tua, you're not in New York. If you were in New York, you'd be crying. Just relax, play the game. You're doing a good job and stay confident. And if the Miami defense can play really well, they have a shot. And that's the only thing that's the only thing that Miami is kind of lacking, is that championship defense. They've got to prove it. I'm not saying they don't have it. They got to prove it. And that will be that'll be interesting to watch, especially coming to play Buffalo and Dallas. So let's talk a little bit about Tom Brady. Says his MVP is McCaffrey. Thank you. I was ready to start calling the award the MVQ, the most valuable quarterback, because that's all they talk about now. I don't know if I agree with him or not that he's the most valuable player, but he's up there in a conversation. I think Deebo Samuel should be in a conversation. I think there's a lot of players this year. The Cheetah should be in a conversation. I think that maybe a defensive end or two should be in a conversation. For 1 year, Byron.
Lamar Jackson should be in the conversation too.
Well, I want to take the quarterbacks out for 1 year, Byron. I want no quarterback this year. All right. Can we do that? Okay. Can our top four be different players? I mean, I know Brock Purdy's playing well. Yeah. Jackson's playing well. Dax had a good year. Let's take them all out of the equation just for 1 year. Like, give me a break. Okay. All right. A break. Who will be your pick?
Right now, you know, I'm kind of like a receiver / running back. I like the Cheetah, and I like Christian McCaffrey. Those two.
Okay, so we're gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with Deebo because when he was hurt, 49ers didn't play too well, right? Even McCaffrey there. So I like Deebo, and I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna tell you that Cleveland defensive end there, a guy named Myles Garrett. Without him, would the Cleveland Browns be where they are this year?
No doubt. He's a difference maker. Yeah. He have literally helped that defense go to a whole different level. Yes. So you're absolutely right. I just think that Myles Garrett is having an awesome year. You know, he's already in the top. He's in the top in the first 5 years of sacks. He's in the top in that category. Just different case scenario. Just look at the stats that he performed on and off the field. He wrecks and take the defense and offense to a whole different level.
Yeah, and you know, there's only been 2 defensive players in the history of the NFL that have won the most valuable player. First one was Alan Page. Second one was Lawrence Taylor. And Myles Garrett, I think, and you know, Rick brings up a great point too. Let's throw an offensive lineman in there. Let's put Peters in there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's throw an offensive tackle in. Let's be creative this year, voters. Let's stop with the quarterbacks all the time. We know they're great. They're the leaders. They're the stars. Let's not make it the MVQ this year. Not the most valuable quarterback. Let's put other players up there and put them in contention. some great games coming up this week, Byron. I mean, we'll talk
Yes.
about the Giants, of course, we always do, but we definitely got to talk a little bit about Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. This because of all the stuff going in Pittsburgh and Jake Browning playing so well, and that that Cincinnati defense. I was going to say Cleveland, but the Cincinnati defense, the defensive ends have been playing really well too. You got the hammer Nixon there, Jake Browning going against Pittsburgh. That looks like they're falling apart.
Yeah, Jay Brown and Cincinnati, they're looking good. And Cincinnati for the last 4 years, the last 8 games of the season seem like they win 90% of the games. And it's just one of the tough things that the good thing about Cincinnati, they play with a lot of momentum.
I agree. And we've got a big NFC North game coming up. And I'm telling you right now, I picked in my Sunday picks. I'll give you a little teaser here, Byron. I picked all NFC North teams to win this week. And
you did?
You'll see some this Sunday. If you tune in, you'll see my picks. But Detroit has a chance still to get the #1 seed. The Minnesota Vikings. Here's your chance, Detroit. Step up, take the brass ring. Don't lose to the Vikings. You lose to the Vikings, you're what I think you are. You're a good team, but you're not great. Here's a chance to prove me wrong.
I was gonna say, you and I was the only 2 guys that picked Detroit this week against the Vikings on our Wednesday night show.
Yes.
So you and I are on the same page on that. I think Detroit need to make a statement going to the Minnesota Vikings house and making it and setting us up apart. Detroit have really turned everything around. So you have to really appreciate Coach Campbell and those coaches as well as the players over there in Detroit.
I agree. And we have 2 teams that say they can't win the big one. They can't beat the good teams, right? They're against the lesser teams. They're killing them. They play a good team and they lose. Well, guess what? These 2 teams that can't beat a good team are going to be playing each other this week in Miami. So we got the Dallas Cowboys with their defense going against that high-powered offense. Dak and the Cowboys have a chance to shut everybody up. Tua has a chance to shut all the naysayers up. Good game, but I think, Byron, this will be a good game.
I think this is going to be a draw, a shootout. I think you got to love it during the Christmas weekend. This should be one of the most exciting games that's going to be played this weekend in the NFL. So I'm looking for a big shootout. Whoever wins this game might have the ball last, because it's going to be that type of game, I think.
Yes. I mean, listen, Dallas really doesn't have a running game this year so far.
Yeah.
Maybe they turn around against Miami. Miami has a decent running game and a good and of course a great pair of wide receivers. Dallas has Cook and they have Lamb, which they're good. I like Miami's tight end. I like Dallas's new tight end. I mean, the offense.
Ferguson is playing really good. So you're absolutely right.
So I mean, I think this will be an exciting game. And of course, then the last of the big games here, San Francisco against Baltimore. Baltimore is the underdog. They're saying why are we the underdog? We're disrespected. Well, Baltimore, go in there and shut them up, right? Go and shut up the 49ers and all them naysayers. I don't know if they can do it because to me, Baltimore is probably going to be playing the toughest team they've played so far this year. This ain't the Detroit Lions. And I know Baltimore's got a good defense. They got Lamar Jackson. I know the 49ers are very physical. This game is the game of the week, Byron.
It's definitely the game of the week. Both teams are 11-3, and let me tell you, it's a lot of talk going into the week. So I expect whoever have the perfect game will win this game. It could go either way. It's kind of like a toss-up between a coin toss-up. So I just think too, this might be a review before the Super Bowl. Both teams might end up winning their divisions, their conferences, and AFC and NFC. And we hopefully this might be a rematch of leading into the Super Bowl.
It could be. It could be. And, Lamar Jackson's only won one playoff game. This is like a playoff game. Here's a chance for Lamar Jackson, who says we shouldn't be underdogs. Here's a chance for you to do something. And, being a running quarterback might give the 49ers a hard time, but their linebackers are so fast, Byron, on that other side of the ball. They got some great linebackers over there. It's going to be
you talking about filling the gaps. You talking about can read coverages. They really sharp. I mean, they don't make mistakes. They take the perfect angles toward. And then so when a running back leaks out or when a quarterback try to run, they fill those gaps. I mean, you got to give credit to Warner and the team over there. And the defense has been playing lights out.
Yeah, I can't wait for this game. One game, well, let's just do a couple things here, a couple news things here. They say the Chargers are interested in Jim Harbaugh. I think the Chargers are interested in any other coach but Staley. So I think any coach out there could go there and get a job with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, still problems down there in Michigan. Michigan wants to keep him. I don't know what's going to happen there, but Harbaugh's been linked to the Bears, the Vikings, the Chargers, the Raiders. So, do you think he's coming into the NFL next year, Byron?
I think so too. I think he done as much as he need to do in Michigan. I think going back to the NFL would be good for him, and I think he's right now he's one of the hottest coaches out there in the coaches ranks. So why not go back to the NFL?
Man, why not? I mean, listen, you won't get as much trouble on the NFL for having a guy on the sidelines looking at the other teams. Anyway, I don't.
Oh yeah, you don't get suspended for nothing like that.
No, of course. Well, I'm going to talk about the Patriots inflation gate number 2 with Keith when he comes down with the footballs there. So we'll talk. I got the football here from the kicking game here, and I'll show Keith too, as you can see. So I had a guy on the sidelines grab one for me. So let's talk about Tommy Cutlets. Of course, being a Giants wide receiver, me being a big Giants fan, we cannot go the show without mentioning the Giants. Tommy Cutlets did put in a mark for it to get a patent on the Cutlet name. So anything associated with Cutlets will be Tommy Cutlets. Money will be getting paid for it. So he did that. I know he's not making a lot of money, so that was a good thing. He will be starting against the Eagles, not Tyrod Taylor, which I think is a mistake. I think Tyrod should start, but that's okay. They're gonna roll with Tommy Cutlets against the Eagles. Secondary that's in a lot of trouble. A defense that gets tired at the end of the game. Giants are 12-point underdogs versus the Eagles in Philadelphia, Byron. I mean, listen. We both would love to see the Giants beat the Eagles at least once this year. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen. The defense will have to play out of its mind, get some turnovers, and that's when they win. And, of course, Saquon's going to have a big game, and the Giants would have to stick in, around it in the game till the end of the game to have a chance to win that. I don't know if they can do that, Byron.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just it's getting rough over there, and I just think that the Giants are looking at maybe reloading for next year, but there's what you call integrity and dignity to the game, and you want to go there and just try to beat the Eagles. So the one thing I can say, being a former New York Giants, and is that you have to continue to play hard. And NFC East games are always interesting to see what can happen, and so they're gonna play. They're gonna definitely show up. I just hope that they don't make too many mistakes, and they got to go in there and play a perfect game, like you're saying.
Yeah, they will. And I remember when, and yes, you better hurry up and get off. 15 minutes of fame is there, Rick. Hey, listen, cash in, man. You're living with your mom. Buy your mom something nice for Christmas.
Well, he probably showed up at a pizza place, right? And he was a MVP of AFC player of the game of the week last week. And I think they were gonna give him $10,000 or something like that. Did you hear that?
Yeah. And his agent upped it to 20, and they canceled. And then he went there and did it for free, which is he should. What little pizza place going to pay somebody $20,000 to come in?
But you know what though, Matt, I did see his agent. His agent, like he's a high fashion type guy, real like like an Italian stallion type. It it's really weird to see his agent trying to get in the public in the limelight.
Yeah, he's always trying to sneak in there, Byron. I don't know. So anyway, it's crazy what he's been doing. Yeah, DeVito's autograph will be worth about 5 cents next year. But anyway, so down underneath, Byron, if you need to check out and go where you got to go. I got Keith coming up. Did you?
Okay.
All right. So we'll let Byron go. We'll bring up Keith first. Give Keith a chance to say Merry Christmas and all that good stuff.
Merry Christmas to you, Byron, and your family. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. It's going to be good.
All right, Byron. We'll let you
Okay.
cut out, and I'll spend some time with Keith here, as we always have fun with Keith. Yes, Keith is one of my
Hello,
favorites.
Matt.
One of the original 4 here, that we've been doing for so long here on Mac and Jack Sports.
Fantastic 4. I think we ought to.
Yeah, we did. Can I be a less elastic man, Keith?
Yeah, yes. I'm
All right,
definitely the same, I'm sure. So,
so Keith Engel, the host at TGI Sports, he'll be on right after the show on the Roku channel with Are You Serious with the Mad New Yorker. So, Keith, we like to talk different things with you, especially college football. We like to go, down the Knicks and Yankees, rabbit hole and talk a little bit about them. So, let's start with the college football. I won't sabotage you.
well, that was all right. I came up with a few things. I just,
Yes, you did. But anyway, William Shatner was sabotage. Okay. Anyway, it's a joke that most people won't know. So the college bowl games they've been playing, and we've watched some of the interesting matchups there. There's 4 main ones that I'm looking at coming up, Keith, and that's the Orange Fiesta, the Peach and the Cotton Bowls. They got some good matchups there. And am I wrong thinking that these will probably be the 4 playoff sites next year?
They likely, Toll Bowls games will always be involved in the playoffs somehow. The Rose Bowl and I want to say Sugar Bowl are the semifinal sites this year.
Right.
But the New Year's Day bowl games are going to be involved in these somehow.
I know the Fiesta Bowl's been around for a while. The Cotton Bowl, of course, forever. And I imagine the older bowls will get it besides the Barstool Sports Bowl. I guess they sponsored one this year.
There's too many bowl games anyway, right? The major ones have to stay, but there's 40 plus bowl games. You don't even have enough teams. There's a bunch of 6. All we've seen so far is 6 and 6 teams play each other. And, there's not a lot to get excited about in the games we've seen so far. We get into next week, there'll be some decent games. There's a couple I'm interested in, even outside of the ones that you mentioned, but not many, because they don't have enough teams that are bowl eligible to fill all the bowl slots.
I think maybe we'll sponsor one next year, Keith. Maybe
you know what? If Barstool can, I think you should.
Yes, well. Yeah. I don't know how much it costs, but it's got to be like a little one somewhere, like up in North Dakota somewhere, where that they're dying for somebody to throw them a couple $100 to sponsor something. So maybe
we should be able to get invited to, involved in a famous Idaho Potato Bowl or something.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe a popcorn bowl or something where we could throw to it. Yeah, so we'll look at that. So anyway, you got some matchups with Ohio State and of course the Georgia Florida State game. You got some games that are going to be heavily watched. Let's put it that way. I don't know how good they'll be, but they'll be heavily watched. So that
Georgia Florida State game is starting to look less and less attractive because about half the FSU team is opt out of this game, I'm worried that this is not going to be a very competitive game. And people will use that, as a reason FSU shouldn't be there when it's not a good barometer.
I agree. The NIL, of course, is huge right now. The portal's huge. You got Arch Manning making $3.2 million and Brock Purdy making $200,000. And of course, Arch Manning was the backup quarterback.
My kids stay in school, right, Mac? If you're not going to be a first-round draft pick or at least a second-round draft pick, you'll make more money staying in school. It doesn't matter, if you're a good player. It doesn't matter what position you play. You make more money.
And that's why you got people like Caleb Williams saying they want part ownership or whatever he said he wants
Right.
there, because he's making, he's going to make 5-10 million. He's all over the place staying in college. So, I mean, I guess it's good for the whole thing. And Carlos' point has always been, well, they could get hurt in the NFL, and at least they can make money while they're playing.
Sure, they have insurance policies at the same time as getting this.
I agree, and I kind of get it. If you're popular enough to make money, good. Of course, it's not fair across the board. I would imagine eventually the college football players the union thing will happen. They've tried it a couple times. I think you're going to have a college football players union like the NFLPA. That's coming next, Keith, I believe, anyway.
Brown, the new NCAA president, Brown, the former governor of Massachusetts, he's proposed a plan where pretty much every college student would get paid roughly $30,000 a year at the FBS level. I don't know what it would be below that. And then there would be caps on NIL money on top of that. But again, once you start talking about capping it, we're going to get all kinds of free enterprise arguments and whatnot.
Sure.
I'm torn. How I was about the portal and the NIL, and with everything that's gone on with the leagues themselves and the programs not being loyal to anybody, not the student athletes, not their fan base, not the conferences they've been in for 100 years. I've loosened my stance a little bit. Why should the players be loyal and not transfer to where they think they'll get more money or playing time? So
listen, I agree, and the first thing that should have been done to stop that was the coach salaries and them moving. That didn't happen, and now the players, you can't fault them for wanting to leave too. I mean, if the coach isn't there, or they want to coach, how can you blame them? So
it's like an astronomical number of players in the portal already, including like 100 quarterbacks. And some have already moved. That's the other thing. How do you move before your teams even finish their season? How do you transfer to another school before you've even finished playing your season?
There's no real rules. That's the problem, Keith. There's no real rules. It's a free for all.
It's a wild west for sure.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Only when Alabama's still out there recruiting their butts off, they're not using the portal. They from what I was reading, were doing a great job recruiting kids. And of course, they're in the top 4. They should be able to recruit kids. And what happens? It's going to lead to some interesting teams getting really good really fast and teams getting really bad really fast. As it goes along. So
absolutely, for sure,
be interesting. Talk a little bit about the Patriots and Zappy. And I was reading an article, Keith, where he's really good in the first half, and they make adjustments, and he's really bad in the second half. And it has a lot to do with the Patriots running the ball on first and second down. Once they get a lead or once they're competitive, they're going to run the ball. That's what the Patriots do. And I think maybe instead of running the ball on first and second down all the time, maybe they should start doing a little play action pass, getting the ball out a little faster. Keith, what do you think?
This isn't. Yes, I agree 100%. This isn't new. This is part of the problem with Mac Jones. They would put him in third and long situations too many times instead of throwing the ball early in the set of downs as you suggested. And listen, the Patriots even they would run the ball when they were really good, but they would run the ball after they had a lead.
Right.
They threw the ball to get ahead and then ran the ball to just run the clock out and end the game.
Right.
That's what they did for 20 years, basically.
Yeah.
And whether it's the players we have on the roster and we can't do that, that's part of it. I mean, the athletes aren't there at the skill positions to be able to kind of throw the ball as much as you want to early in downs, but they played really well in that first half against Kansas City, as you said, and they mixed it up. They didn't get themselves in third and longs, and that's the key here. These guys aren't good enough to consistently be 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 7. You got to put them in a better position to succeed.
Well, some stats for you. Keith. 69% better in the first half. 59. This is Zappy. 4 touchdowns to 0 interceptions in the first half. 0 touchdowns to 2 interceptions in the second half. It just to me screams that they got to change especially in the second half. Teams are going to adjust. They see what they're going to do. They know what you're going to do. You got to adjust to, and that's something they need to work on.
That's the first I've heard any of those stats, by the way. But just watching the games,
Yes.
They make perfect sense to me because the eye test backs that up.
Well, Keith, I got a new football here.
Cool.
It's from the kickers at the Patriots. You know, the inflate gate 2.
Is there a hole in it, or
they were kicking the ball with this type of football? What's going on? Now they're talking about the kickers kicking an underinflated ball, Keith.
Well, I don't know how they think it's helping their kicker because Ryland has missed, like in the last couple of weeks, he's missed 230-some very short field goals, as badly as I've ever seen an NFL kicker miss a field goal. Right. I mean, wide, like 20 yards wide. Nobody misses by that much. This guy's terrible. So maybe put some air in the ball if that's what you're doing, because this kid's struggling badly. And I thought he was going to be actually one of their – they don't draft kickers, and I thought he'd be really good. The punter, I can't think of his name right now. He's like the MVP of the team, though, so because he's had a pretty good year.
Hey, we were talking about MVPs. We should throw a punter. Me and Byron, we're not going to do the MVQs this year, right? Our votes are not going for any quarterback. We've got the Cheetah in there. We've got Myles Garrett in there. We threw in an offensive tackle. Rick threw in the offensive tackle from the 49ers. Debo Samuels may be one of them. I mean, there are good choices out there without putting a quarterback out there.
McCaffrey be my guy.
Yes, we brought him up right away. But, when he was playing and Debo was hurt, the 49ers lost. So I said, maybe it's Debo. And, listen, let's put a punter in there, too. I will put that on the list. We'll put the Patriots punter on there because without them, they may not even have their 3 or 4 wins.
No, that's right. He's worth 3 wins to them, I would say.
So there you go. That's good for a punter. Let's. I want to get your thoughts a little bit on last night's game with Byron. Listen, if there's wide receivers in the league that don't block like the one in Pittsburgh, it doesn't do anything. The Rams are just the opposite. These guys block for each other. They catch the ball. What a group of receivers. Robinson had a huge game coming over from Baltimore. Do you think the Rams might be the best wild card team in the NFC?
Yes, but unfortunately that's not saying much since the other team's 500 and you got a bunch of sub 500 teams still in the running for the playoffs. But the Rams have surprised me. They've played really good, I think, the last 6 or 7 games, basically. The defense is really good. They've retooled that defense tremendously. Now they're starting to get a running game. Kyron Williams had another nice game last night. And you mentioned the wide receivers. You see the ball this Nakua caught, and I think it was right around the start of the second half. It's impossible for him to catch this ball, and it was just a great catch. And they block, as you said. And look at this team. Team is important, right? And you don't see a lot of teams play that way. It's a good all-around team right now. Maybe they're not the best offensively, but their defense is going to keep them in games. And if they don't make mistakes, if Stafford doesn't turn the ball over, this team could win a game or 2 in the playoffs for sure.
Well, let's take that one step further. The Eagles are having a big problem with their defensive secondary, right? Rams matched up against the Eagles is not a good matchup for the Eagles. Dallas defense, if you run at them, and you can catch them napping deep too. I mean, listen, the Rams have a significant, I would say right now for sure, I could put the Rams against the Lions right now and feel good about it. 49ers, no. Those are the 3 teams. I wouldn't feel like the Rams get at least they're not getting blown out. They're going to give all 3 teams a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles on any given day could rise up and blow somebody out. But you're right. They've got their problems on defense. Matt Patricia was calling the plays last week. I was hoping – I'm sorry I missed the show Wednesday night because I wanted to hear what Pags had to say about him taking over the play calling duties and if that's going to be an ongoing thing.
Well, don't worry, Pags. No Eagle co-host came on, Keith. Pags didn't make it. Because they lost. They get really quiet over there in Philadelphia.
Oh boy, I hope he's not listening now.
Listen,
the team's just not as consistent as it was on defense. And Hurts turns the ball over more than he has, makes a lot more mistakes. I mean, he could have more turnovers than he had. He's a lot looser with the football than he was a year ago, and that's really if they don't run the ball or even sometimes try to run the ball the way they did last year. There's a lot of factors why the Eagles are kind of up and down, but unfortunately or fortunately for them, there's really only the 49ers to compete with because the Cowboys are so inconsistent. Maybe the Rams. You're right. This could be a year. This could be a year where somebody like the Rams come out of nowhere to make a run, possibly.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Knicks. Not a lot to say. I mean, they've been playing pretty well. They really trounced the Nets. They couldn't stay with the Knicks physically. They beat the Lakers. And to me, Mitchell's out. I'm trying to think of the guy's name that came in that played with Brunson. He had a good game in college. He played with Brunson in college. He played a good game. But to me, Keith, this all is riding on Randall. All the naysayers about Randall, that he doesn't, his attitude and all this is up and down. Listen, this guy is playing against, LeBron James, and he's playing against the Nets, one of the best Nets players on the court, and he's physical. He's making shots. He's assisting. He's setting people up. This dude, if they can get one more guy with him, talk is Zion Williams is not guaranteed. 3 years is not guaranteed anymore. I know he's injured, but listen, you add him to the Knicks as a center. My God, this team has a chance of going, Keith.
If he's healthy, yes, I agree. But it's a big chance to take, and I would think it would take a lot to get him. If he's a free agent, he's going to take a lot to get him. And Knicks haven't done a great job of attracting free agents in the last year. I mean, Brunson wasn't, playing great basketball, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't like level one free agent. This team could use a Zion Williams. They've taken a little bit of the stress off Randall this year, not scoring quite as much, which is okay.
Right.
His minutes have started to creep up, and his production. He started to carry the team a little more, I think, the last couple of weeks, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing. I like the fact that Brunson and Barrett have taken on more of that responsibility. Quickly's played well off the bench. The kid they got from Golden State, DiVincenzo, he's played better. He got off to a rough start. Josh Hart, I think, is who you were thinking about. Played with Barrett, has played better recently. He's had some issues with Thibodeau and his playing time, but I think he's getting more consistent. It does feel always this team will finish in the top 4 in the East for sure.
Right.
But there does always feel like there's one piece missing, whether it's Zion Williamson or somebody else, to get over the top and beat the Milwaukees. And
I think Keith, we had, once they get back, I know Mitchell's out, but we had quality role players at center. Zion don't got to play 100 minutes, 60 minutes a game or 40 minutes a game. He can go in here and play 30 minutes a game, and we still would be, in fact, it'd probably be good for him not to play as much till he gets physically fit. I don't know if he ever will, but that'll be a big question, but we'll see. Well, I think it would be a good trade.
It'll be interesting to see if he maybe is available at the trade deadline if they were to pull, because it's going to take, a couple guys. You're going to have to be willing to part with it quickly. I'm not parting with Barrett, obviously. You're obviously not parting with Brunson and Randall in any circumstance. I don't want to part with Barrett. I've been there all along. Quickly, maybe, but, he's really provided a spark off the bench. So they might want the kids. They might want Quickly. They might want Grimes. I probably would part with Grimes in that trade.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a little something to get him. But he would certainly give them a better chance to, go deeper into the playoffs for sure.
I would think so. So.
Yes.
Yamamoto, gets $360 million. The Yankees, the Mets were into it. The Yankees even went down to meet with him in Los Angeles. I guess they weren't willing to give him $360 million, or maybe they were, but he all along wanted to go play with, Ohtani with the Dodgers. $360 million, Keith, for a guy who's never pitched in a Major League Baseball.
It's, this is the reality we live in, right? I mean, we got guys who are on the back end of their career who are getting huge contracts like Nola. We got guys who have contributed nothing or shown. I mean, he's been a great pitcher, and most of the pitchers from Japan, I think the majority have panned out, but you don't know. $30 million a year is a lot of money. One thing that, people aren't talking about a lot that I don't get. I mean, the Dodgers had already freed up $160 million in payroll for this coming year. They sign Ohtani to a huge contract, but then they defer. How can you defer $68 million of the $70 million? Because that affects your salary cap. And to me, it's really, it's giving them an unfair advantage in chasing the guys like Yamamoto. And I would think the league will probably address this at some point, because when you're only going to count him $2 million against your cap next year, something's doesn't smell right that you ought to be able to do that. But in any event, I had little doubt he was going to go out west. He made it clear he wanted to play with other Japanese players or stars, which you probably knew who he was talking about, right? So they were always going to be at the top of the list. Listen, there's going to be a lot of pressure on that Dodger team and Dave Roberts to win a World Series next year, because he's got the best player maybe in baseball, or one of the best, and you're going to have the biggest payroll probably as well.
That's the truth. And one more thing about Yamamoto, he's got 2 opt-out clauses in there, and I know how you feel about that.
Can't have both, and you can have the money and the guarantees, but you can't have an opt-out too.
Right. I agree. One thing I forgot to bring up in the college football, Florida State supposedly called an emergency meeting for Friday to see about exiting the ACC, what their options are. Now, I don't know what the emergency meeting means. I don't know if they're all talking about how much it's going to cost to exit. If we're going to exit, I have no idea. I know if they've called a meeting like this before, it just wasn't an emergency meeting, Keith. So I don't know what.
No, and they've been very vocal all year that they don't think the ACC is the best place for them because they and Clemson, they feel, carry the water there, right? And the TV rights are there because they're there, and these other schools are benefiting from it, and they're not. And they feel like they may have lost out on a playoff spot because of the ACC and the way it's viewed by the committee and other people around college football as a whole, the league. So there's been a lot of issues there, and I think players were included in this meeting as well, because they've got a lot of guys jumping ship and transferring out because of the situation, or partly because there's obviously other factors in any transfer situation, but part of it is because they don't feel they're going to get a fair shake at Florida State from the NCAA. But I don't know. It's not a good situation.
Clemson has been successful coming out of the ACC, right? I think Ohio State's in the ACC. They've been successful. So to
Ohio
me,
State's in the
Big Ten.
State.
That's right, Big Ten. My bad. But Clemson anyway has been there, and they've been successful. So I don't know if it's how you do your schedule. In fact, they beat top 25 teams. I think they beat the most.
They were like 6-2 or 6-3 against the SEC this year, the ACC. Right. So it's not a bad league, and it's been viewed, unfortunately, in the last decade as Clemson and the little 11. However many teams are, including FSU. In all fairness to the rest of the league, FSU wasn't doing anything great for the last 6 years before this year.
True.
A little bit tail end of last year. So, they've contributed to some of that reputation as well.
Yeah, very true.
But
true.
It's not a bad league, and Clemson has really represented it well.
I think so too, Keith. Are you going to be on Sunday's show with us, Keith?
I will definitely be here Sunday, yes.
All right, Christmas morning, another gift for you. Keith Angle will be on the show with us. But listen, we're going to be here for Christmas morning. Just when you get up and wrap the presents, tune us on and check us out as always.
I might have to send you all my picks for early, because I'm not doing good on Sundays. I might better make my pick on Saturday or something.
And of course, that's Christmas Eve day anyway. So, Monday's Christmas. Okay, so I'm going to leave with Keith today. Go over and watch TGI Sports. Are You Serious? On the Roku channel and all our outlets. Really, but check out the Roku channel. You get to see Keith and Carlos on the big screen. And, that's always something you should see. So
yeah, because you want to see my head on a giant screen afterwards.
Yes. And of course, Saturday we have the debate show. Sunday we have the big football show. We got all the stuff happening this weekend for you on Northeast Streaming Sports. Folks, have a great day. Check out, I guess we got 2 games too, Keith, tonight, right? We got Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Buffalo and the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken.
Tomorrow, I think that's tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah.
It says Friday, I think. I don't know.
Hang on 1 second. Let me take a quick look. I thought there was 2 NFL games tomorrow. Yeah, they're tomorrow.
They are tomorrow.
We got one college game tonight. UCF and can't remember who the hell is playing right now, but UCF.
My pick shifts says, well, that's okay. I ain't gonna worry what they say because We're
4:30, 8 o'clock tomorrow.
All right. So we'll see you on Sunday, Keith, and everyone else. Debate show. Are you serious after this debate show and big football show on Sunday? Guys, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow night.